In the late 70s, Volvo had a reputation as building reliable but not very interesting cars like the 240, and they wanted to add some zest to their lineup. They conceived a whole new car, a whole new platform that was be designed specifically to meet American safety and emission standards. But by the time it was ready, the market had changed and it never actually came here to America at all. Today I'm going to talk about the Volvo 480. All right, welcome back to All Cars, y'all. I'm John, and I love reading about cars. You know that. I bet you do too. And I wanted to do sections of videos about forgotten cars, these interesting little cars that we just all forgot ever existed. But it's hard to say I forgot about this one because I never knew of it until like a week ago. See, in the 60s and 70s, the early 70s, Volvo had the 1800, this sexy little number, but it couldn't meet the upcoming standards here in America. It was prohibitively expensive to redesign it, so they just canceled it. And by the late 70s, Volvo wanted to spice up their image a little bit. 1978, they started Project E12, and this was really an innovative car. They were going to do their first front engine and front wheel drive car. They made it a sleek wedge shape, but they gave it pop-up headlights so it could meet US standards for headlight height. They gave it side impact when it wasn't actually required. To meet emission standards, it's actually had electronic ignition and electronic fuel injection. One of the cool features I really like about it is if you had the windshield wipers on intermittent, if you floored it, they immediately came on. If you had the windshield wipers on and you put it in reverse, the rear one would come on automatically. A lot of cool little touches like that, all packaged into this two-door hatchback with 4 seats. Now you might think if you're looking for a sporty car, why are you doing a hatchback? Well, because that 1800 we talked about, the best-selling version of it was a little hatchback design. Unfortunately, this car had an extremely long gestation. It took until 1981, so approximately 3 years after they conceived it, to actually get drawings out to consumer clinics. At the time, Americans were getting pretty bullish on diesel, so they planned on putting a diesel engine in it that they were designing with Renault. But diesel went as fast as it came, so they had to switch to another engine, the F3N, which was also designed with Renault. It was designed for transverse front-wheel drive applications, so they could use that instead. During this time, Volvo bought DAF, auto manufacturer they'd worked with very closely. They bought the car business from them, and that included a factory in the Netherlands. Unfortunately, by the time they got ready to launch it, things had changed. Now, they actually released this vehicle in the European markets in 1986. And interestingly, another innovation, they actually had daytime headlights, daytime running lights in the British market, which could be deactivated by the dealer when you requested it. So they released it, and they announced that they were going to bring it to America in the fall of 1988. Well, unfortunately, during the 80s, the value of the dollar plummeted, which meant a forecast $15,000 car was now going to be $20,000. And then in October 1987, Black Monday. The stock market dropped, and by February of 1988, Volvo announced they were never going to bring it here. This car ended up selling until, I believe, 1995, so almost 9 years. But that almost 10 years to get to the American market, everything changed, and it didn't make financial sense for them to try to bring it here. And that's really unfortunate because right about that same time, they introduced a turbo version of it, which only increased the power slightly, but moved the torque curve and made it a much more entertaining drive. I really regret we never got this car. I think this could have changed Volvo's image a decade earlier than it started to. This is a really good looking car. Reviews seem to say it handled very well, especially because of its light weight. It had enough room inside. Once you squeezed yourself back there, this really could have been a great car for our market, and just stylistically, I think it's got a little bit of Honda Civic in it. Now, I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but I think it's a sexy little car, and it's a shame we never got it. So I know in Europe, you've probably seen them before, but largely it's been forgotten, I think, on both sides of the pond. Now, this platform actually spawned the 440 and the 460 as well, which went on for a number of years, but this was the last sporty two-door hatchback that Volvo tried to do until the C30 came out. And I have a personal story about that, because when that was released, I really loved it. I super loved it. It was a little on the pricey side, but ultimately I decided I needed 4 doors, not 2, and so I never ended up with one, and I always still kind of regret it. So if you've got some memories about the 480 you'd like to share, please do in the comments below. And if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. Please like this video.